As you guys will know, I've started to really get into some tennis trading recently, and I've always kind of struggled with it because with football you can do all the pre-match research, you can look at a huge variety of sites and get a lot of information. There's just information on everything you need when it comes to football. But with tennis, there isn't really that much out there, or not in a sort of easily accessible way like there is with football. But this strategy I'm going to show you today doesn't need any research at all. I've only done a little bit of back research on it, but we've got an example of the strategy working, an example of the strategy not working, so you can see how the profit and loss ranges. And then I've got about 15 games to show you as a backlog to see what the profit and loss is. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this. If you're new to the channel and you like Betfair, please do be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and the like button while you're down there. As I always say in my videos, I am completely a beginner when it comes to Betfair. If you see a strategy you like on the channel, do more research, look in the comments, people will call me out if it's not good and if there's any tips I can use. So always look down there, always do some additional research before you get started, and hopefully you'll be able to make some profit on here like I have. So this strategy is very simple. If we just come over here to Betfair, we'll see if there's one we could use at the moment, and there's quite a few. So all you need is something like this, where someone has just won the first set. Ideally, you want the first set to be a bit more competitive, not just a 6-1 whitewash. So you want something that's going a bit more competitive between the two players. So you can see this one here, for example, is 4-all at the moment. As soon as someone wins the first set, you could then jump in with this trade. And all you're going to do when someone wins that first set is lay them. Lay the person who's won that first set. Because quite a lot of the time when it comes to tennis, you will get the other opponent really coming into it in that second set, really trying to get back into that match and get that second service won. So I'll just show you this example here. You can see the guy at the top here, or the woman at the top here, sorry, has just won their first set. So we're just going to go in, lay them. We're going to lay it 1.12, and we're going to lay it with our £10 stake over here. You can see we got matched, and the reason I really love this strategy is if you just take a look at the potential profit and loss over here, we've only got £1.30 of liability in this trade, but a potential profit of £9.80. Now, we'll never see that whole loss if the trade loses, and we'll never see that whole profit if the trade wins, but just having that much of a risk to reward is such a good aspect for this sort of trade, because you're really not putting too much of a risk out there and the potential rewards could be quite huge. If I scroll through this, you can just see the constant profit and loss changing as everyone serves and as points are won and lost. So there's always going to be an opportunity there if you just want to get out of the trade for either a quick loss or a quick profit. If you've changed your mind about the trade and you don't want to stay in it anymore, there will be opportunities throughout it to be able to do that. But for the purpose of this, what we're looking for is someone to break the other individual's service. So you can see here, Laura at the moment is serving and she's about to have her service broke. If Beatrice goes on and wins this next point, we then cash out for a loss. But luckily in this instance here, as you can see, we do eventually get back into it, and Laura comes up and wins her service. So we don't cash out at that point. And you can see here, it's Beatrice here who is using her service, as you can see by that nice little dot. And Laura is about to break her service. She's 40 love up. You can see the profit here that's available. We're already making, I think that's, to be honest, including the commission there, that is basically 100% profit from that £1.30 liability. So it's 100% profit from our liability at this point, and that's even before we've triggered our exit point. Now, Beatrice does bring it back here, as you can see, it goes to 40-15, I should say, but then Laura goes on and wins the set. And as you can see, the next step with this trade is you can either cash out here for your profit. If it goes the other way and it's the opponent who's broke the service, it's just best to leave. You don't want to potentially end up having a bigger loss. You want to take the lowest amount of loss you can get. So if the service gets broken, as I'll show you in a second, on a losing trade, you're just going to cash out straight away and take that loss. But when it comes to a winning trade like this, Laura's just broken the service. You can either take that profit now, that £1.41, or you can hold out and watch her service, because it's now her opportunity. If she goes and holds her service, you could then see a bigger profit returned. But obviously it does leave the risk of them losing their next service, which does happen quite a big chunk of the time. So here it's up to you. You can either cash out for your guaranteed profit here, or hope they hold on to their service. As you can see here, I wanted to showcase what happens, and luckily for us, we got as you can see, just a complete domination back from the opponent, which meant, as you can see there, both had broke each other's service. We cashed out for a profit still once it evens up at 22 pence. So not a huge amount of profit, but you will always get a profit at the end of that instance. So if I just show you now the full week's worth of trades, you can see here what odds we got in at, whether or not the individual we wanted to break the service did go on to break the service, what the back odds were, what the profit was, the percentage return. Then we saw whether or not that individual would then go on to hold their service after breaking the opponents, and you can then see the odds, the profit loss, and the return. So you can see actually based on these trades here, if we just go straight away to the ones where we actually were active and made a profit, it's about a 50-50% split as to whether or not they will then go on to hold their service. So this might be something we can look at longer term and see, as soon as someone's broke the opponent's service, when we've got this triggered here and got our profit, we could then double up our profit again by putting it in and laying the person who's ahead at that point. But that might be something we look at in a different video. But if we take a look here from these 23 trades, you can see we had a strike rate of 47%. Now, having a strike rate of 47% isn't that good for a trade. So you might think, oh, you'll probably be making a loss, you won't be getting that big of a return. But when you look at this, 47% strike rate with a 77% return. And that's a 77% return on the stake, not the liability. So we're going in here with £10 stakes, but the liability for these trades are only £1, £2 at most. And you can see that by the losses that have been occurred. When it's a losing trade, you're going to lose 40 pence, 50 pence. Sometimes you'll lose £3 like you have done in these ones, but that is depending on the odds that you're getting in at. But you can see there is really limited loss potential with these trades, but then the profit is completely on the flip side. If we go largest to smallest here, you can see on average the percentage return we're getting is a 20% return. Based on the losses, the average is 12%. So you can see already there, a winning trade is so much more beneficial in this instance than with other trades. And I think this is the perfect type of strategy people are like. It's got a low strike rate, or around about a 50% strike rate, but you're still making a big amount of profit. Now, I wouldn't recommend holding on after someone's broke the service, because as you can see, that's then an additional section. You're going to reduce your profits down. And you can see that if we'd have done that for all these trades, we would have only made 22%, which is still a nice return, but it's still nothing compared to that 77%. So if I just zoom in down here on these figures, so you can see we've done 23 trades, we've got a 47% strike rate, and with that 47%, it's a 77% return. In terms of keeping hold or holding onto their service after they've broke the opponent, you can see that only happens 21% of the time, and it only gives a 22% return. If we'd have done all these trades with £250 stake, that's not £250 liability by the way, just £250 stake, we would have made a return of £193 profit. You can see it is really good, but you do also have them trades where it sometimes goes against you. And I'm going to show you some examples of them right now. So as you can see here, we got into this trade just after Bonzi had won the set. So we laid Bonzi at 1.09. And then you can see Bonzi goes on and breaks the service again of his opponent in the second set, which means we get out for a loss. And you can see we got out for a loss of around about 67 pence. So not too bad when you look at the liability there. We only had 90 pence liability on that, but a potential of £9.80 profit. And we lost 67 pence from that losing trade. Now if we come into this next one, you can see it was 7-6, a really close service, and that's why the odds were still really good. Now in this instance here, it can either go really well for you or really bad, because when the odds are like this at 1.57, the opponent goes on to break the service, you're going to have a lot more potential for a swing in odds to get some bigger profit, but also on the flip side of that, if it goes the other way, you're going to get a bigger loss. So when the odds are a bit shorter, you're going to have less of a risk there. And as you can see, we were going in with that £10 stake, so we're always going to be looking at that £9.80 return, but you can see just how much the liability changes. So in this instance, £5.70 liability, whereas with the first trade we did, it was only 90 pence liability. So it really does make a huge impact, them starting odds. But as you can see, it went on straight away to go against us, and very quickly we took out our loss, which was £2.27. Now you can see when we sort over here by the biggest layouts to the lowest layouts, it does match up with the return that you get. It has the biggest wins when you're higher up, it has the biggest losses, and then when you go down with the lower odds, it has the smaller wins and the smaller losses. So it's all about risk to reward with these, and depending on which avenue you want to go down. But if we were to say cut out any that were above 1.5, that would actually increase our return. So we would only have 20 trades then, 50% strike rate, but 103% return. So that there may have limited some of our potential profits, because some of them might have gone the other way and we could have got a bigger return, but it's also going to really limit the potential losses you can get. Now, I know some of you might be sat there thinking, well, what if I'd have gone in here and laid this Rebecca at the top after she'd won her first set, as she just did there, and then this match just kept going to the point where it was 5-5 in the second set. What happens then? Because you are then potentially one individual away from winning the set, and then you're going to lose your whole liability. Well, I wouldn't worry about that, because if you've had a closed first set, a very close first set I should say, and a very close second set, there's going to be multiple opportunities there for you to get your profit. I would recommend that as soon as it gets to around 4 for both of these individuals in the second set, that you start to look out for avenues of profit, because it's then not going to be worth the risk of the liability as the match goes on. So in the second set, if it continues to go on for a long time, start to look for them avenues of profit to get out of the trade. So if it gets to this scenario here, which is what I was talking about, if it literally gets to the point where the second set is really competitive and no one's breaking anyone's service, just start to look for them avenues to get out and take your profit, and then you'll still be sitting pretty at the end of the trade. But that is it for this trade. Obviously there's not that much data out here at the moment that I've collected, and I'm going to keep going with this. It's a bit of a pain keeping track with tennis, because there's no just notifications you can get for like a goal going in like there is with football. But after initial impression on this, I really do like the look of this strategy. Some of these potential returns you're getting, as you can see, 77% return from a 47% strike rate is really impressive. And the limited risk you've got out there with that low liability, I think it really does have some great potential longer term for a good strategy with this. So let me know what your thoughts are on this down below. Let me know if there's any other strategies you want me to check out and do over the next few weeks. I'll be happy to give them a go. And please do let me know what your thoughts are on this one. I really like the look of it. I'm really getting into my tennis trading at the moment. So any tips and tricks on how we could reduce some more liability in this and potentially increase our profits, I am all ears.